if you want to talk about LA style celebrity status, like growing up and living on South Beach while you're the number one show in town, like we would roll 40 deep into a club and Dante Culpepper is sitting there with two of his buddies trying to get into the same club and they're not letting him in. And he's the quarterback for the Dolphins.
Welcome to episode 14 of Film Never Lies. This is a bonus episode, an emergency pod, because after seeing Miami in the national championship game this week, it brought me back to the early 2000s, specifically the 2001 national championship team that, in my opinion, is the most iconic college football team ever. They're just loaded. Ed Reed, Clinton Portis, Jeremy Shockey, the list does not end. National champs, like I said, in 2001, you got iconic players, iconic games, iconic jerseys. But what people, especially in Canada, don't know is somewhat amazingly, a guy from Belle River, Ontario, just outside the Windsor area, was not only a player on the team, but a captain, an award-winning offensive lineman. The man won the Rimmington Award for the best center in college football. Me growing up in the Windsor area, this guy was stuff of legend. Without further ado, here comes 2001 national champion winner, the Rimmington Award winner, Brett Romberg out of Belle River, Ontario. And here he is, none other than a Rimmington Award winner, Brett Romberg. Brett, first off, thanks for joining me on the pod. I got a lot to talk about. Okay, we're going to get to the game here in a sec, dude.
All right.
This is a personal one for me, and for those of you listening, Brett Romberg was the guy way before I was coming out. So to have you on the pod right now, when I was a kid, it was like, dude, one day I can be like Brett Romberg, full scholarship to the University of Miami out of Belle River, Ontario. Please start there. How, and I know it's different, but how did it work going? You went to Belle River High, did you not?
Yeah, man, BRDHS, baby. Yeah, Belle River Soldier. You better
How
believe
did
it.
you go from Belle River to the Miami Hurricanes in their heyday?
Oh my God! Well, obviously it's before social media, right? So you kind of had to just go to these combines that this guy Ron Dias performed throughout Canada, put together like this grading system, this scale of whoever he thought was really good, and he basically had me and a running back, Derek Dietrich, out of Toronto, who ended up going to Nebraska. He had him and I like basically 1 and 2 recruits out of Canada from all of the illustrious football players that he's seen going in and out of gymnasiums back in his day.
Okay, Brett, so this is where, and again, I didn't go anywhere near a school with the pedigree of Miami.
Right.
But is there a moment when you got down there where you're like, where am I?
Yeah, to go from Windsor, Ontario, much like your home, your crib, going from a very auto-centric, blue-collar, hardworking town, and going into the perfume, frills, and thrills of South Beach, Miami, Coral Gables in particular was pretty incredible, man. It was, number one, it was about 82 degrees the day that I showed up in January, because I ended up going about a half a year early. I left Belle River High School in January. Basically didn't really care about the October, September, November, December semester. So I kind of bounced out of there and arrived in Miami with a suitcase, a Canadian flag, maybe a speaker or two, my Life of Agony albums, and my Danzig CDs, and that was about it, man. Got ready to play some football. So
The Danzig CDs made it, huh?
Yeah, the Lucifuge and the How the Gods Kill and Mother, they all kind of came with. Those were staples in my backpack, man.
Okay. So we're going to get into this thing. You're a national champion, 2001 season.
Yeah.
That's one of, I would argue that's the most iconic football team in the history of college football.
You're not the only one to argue that, baby. About every single, from Shannon Sharp to Greg Olson, all you tight ends, you guys understand. You get it. You pick up the pieces.
No question. So I'd love to hear, when you're living in it, now it's been 20 plus years, we can reflect on things. You guys had 38 people drafted.
Yeah.
I'm going to read some names on this list, okay? Vilma, Ed Reed, Willis McGahee, Najee Davenport, Jeremy Shockey, Clinton Portis, Frank Gore, Philip Buchanan, Kellen Winslow, Bryant McKinney, Andre Johnson, Vince Wilfork, Sean Taylor, Antrell War. I know I'm continuing. Yourself, okay? At what point are you like, hey, we are this motherfucking loaded, dude? Because that list, I didn't even name everybody.
No, I know. There's a lot more beyond that too, right? So to be honest with you, and you know this, Luke, going through it yourself. The guys that you're going to work with every day and you're playing with and you're working your craft against, you're kind of feeling like yourself is on some kind of like equal platform, right? Like once you get to that elite level of football playing, whether it's like the peak or the pinnacle of collegiate or the NFL, you're playing with dudes that are separating themselves athletically, physically, strong, smart. You're clearly in the upper echelon of abilities, right? So, but we never really saw each other as that good. To be perfectly honest with you, when you're playing with those elites, like literally every day in practice, I'm ripping against William Joseph, first round draft pick. I'm ripping against Vince Wilfork, Dan Morgan, John Vilma, DJ Williams.
Dan Morgan. I just left him. That's my guy. That's why I can't even left Dan Morgan off.
Yeah, Dan, you want to talk about an animal? Dan Morgan. Dan Morgan was doing some white boy stuff that white boys shouldn't have been doing. He's like a kookley, like Luke.
Yeah.
So like they're two peas in a pod, those two guys. So, but again, you're going to work every day, and there's so much competition, man. Like you're fighting over the damn couch, you're fighting over what locker you're going to walk to, you're fighting over what water bottle you're going to get. It's just constant competition. And aside from working on your craft and trying to play ball and be the best that you could be, you're competing every single moment you wake up, man. Like, and some of the stuff that we used to do to each other, like just would make you want to go to an insane asylum. So you have to be on your toes all the time. Like you think hockey? Okay, first of all, we're doing this with TSN, right? Hockey players are the grossest, dirtiest, nastiest athletes in the world, right? We all know that they're disgusting. We're not too far behind. Like the peeing in Gatorade bottles, don't leave your toothbrush laying out. Heaven forbid you got some food items sitting in the refrigerator. Like, yeah, those are all suspect. You got to make yourself so thick-skinned, so physically, basically beat down to the point where there is nothing less but the guy you're playing football with next to you to like hold your hand and help you out throughout the day. To be honest with you.
I mean, I'm with you right there. There's a couple guys you named there. Part of the reason I was giggling is I know Dan Morgan as more of a football exec.
Right.
You know, and it's funny. I was actually looking up some things this morning. You know, he's in Carolina, I believe, right now.
Yep.
And he was in Seattle when I was there. And to hear your description of Dan Morgan, it was just a very different individual than my experiences with Dan.
Yeah, like and another funny insight about Dan Morgan. Yeah, I think he's the GM now of Carolina. Like Danny would never shower after practice. Like that's the weird part about it, right? So Danny had his single suite in Mahoney dorm rooms. Never slept in it, not once. Danny would get off the practice field, stinking as hell, and get in his car and drive back home to Fort Lauderdale every night to have dinner with his mom, his dad, his family, his sisters. And it's like the most psychotic thing I've ever heard in my life. And I asked him when he came back from like a couple years, he came back and he wanted to take me out and show me a good time. And I was like, Danny, dude, I'm not going to lie to you. We think you're like serial killer material, man. Like what was going on with you? And he goes, Romberg, I just knew from a young age, I knew what it took and how to get there. And that's how driven and focused some of these guys were, man. Like just insane.
That's sick. What a story. Now, there's another guy, Brett, and I did have a game against, I didn't have to block him, but seeing him in real life, and he was older in his career, but tell me about going up against Vince Wilfork on a daily basis. And this is where I'm coming from here. Okay, and you know this as well as I do. When you're playing in the NFL, there are certain guys, everyone's a dude. Everyone's a dude.
Yep.
But there are certain guys when all of a sudden you see them and they are just the outlier amongst outliers. And I vividly remember the first time I laid eyes on Vince Wilfork being like, dude, this guy, his stature is at another level.
His barrel hangs down to like mid-thigh, right? And that's the first thing that I noticed. But yeah, the dude's got like McDonald's straw forearm veins. He's got like McDonald's straw forearm veins ripping through his arms like a bicep vein. Like dudes that are 345 that eat 18,000 calories a sitting should not be vascular. Like they just shouldn't, right? Granted, Vince is freaking awesome. Love the dude to death. We hang out quite a bit. He's down here in South Florida still. If you've seen Vince Wilfork today, he's like 1/3 of the size of what he was before. But
really?
Yeah, but I'll never forget this, dude. So Fat Vince, obviously, he came in. halfway through a year. And he joined us in the Sugar Bowl, right? Like right before our team started exploding. We should actually play for the national championship that year, too, when we played against the Gators and whooped their ass on Bourbon Street and then beat them in the Sugar Bowl.
Let them know, baby. Let them
yeah,
know.
yeah, bro. Windsor bar scene, like total Windsor bar scene. No big deal. American kids coming over from Detroit trying to floss over there in Windsor. Same situation. So we ran into the Gators in the middle of the street. Vince Wilfork comes like off the top rope and just starts smoking fools as a high school kid, you know? So we had Vinny, and I'll never forget, he used to order this thing called a Brittany Special to the locker room. It was like a $5 bowl of ranch, bacon, and pasta and chicken. And it must have been 4,800
Dude, you can't
calories.
be serious.
I swear to God.
You can't be serious.
So we nicknamed him, the guy that provided us the food was this guy, Bezzy. And we used to nickname Vince Big Bez, Biggity Bez. So I'll never forget the first time I played against Vince, against the Patriots. And I'm like sweating, I'm dying. I got like, I'm like, got my hand on the ball. I'm getting ready to snap it. And all of a sudden I hear biggity bib, biggity bib, biggity bib. And it's like Vince dripping sweat over my football. And I looked up, I said, you gotta be shitting me, man. So it was like one of those things where you would see a former teammate just about every single weekend and multiples of them, you know? So it was really cool. It was really cool to see the success.
Yeah, dude, I'm howling over here. Back to you. Okay, again, I always find it fascinating, and we got a lot of youngsters in the Canadian football world that watch some of this stuff. But at what point at Miami, so you come from Belle River, you go to Miami, did you realize that you were a dude? And for those of you who are young, Brett was a 2-year captain for the Canes on the 01 Natty team and the 02 team that lost in the Natty. We're not going to bring that up. Okay, but you were a guy on that team. And we're going to get into the awards you won here in a sec. But when did you realize, like, holy shit, dude, I'm a dude on this team?
When I went against Gerard Warren that night in the Sugar Bowl against the Gators, I was like a 19-year-old kid. Gerard Warren was the 3rd pick in the NFL draft, defensive tackle. Dude smoked a lot of dope, but that really didn't affect his play. He was one of those guys. He was a gangster. Like Gerard Warren, G-Dub was a monster, defensive tackle. And that game, even my coaches were kind of like hesitant of like wondering if I was going to be able to handle this guy. Dude, I went out and balled out werewolf style, you know, just full scrap. Like every 13 seconds was just full, everything I got, fist fight, scrap, whatever I could do to go ahead and make sure I stood a chance or won. If there was a will, there was a way with me. My flexibility, my foot speed, my intelligence, you know, that was another thing. And the fact that, like, much like just about every single Canadian kid that came out, and got to the NFL, just hardworking, man. Like I never stopped working. I was living in even when I was in high school, dude, coming back from high school on the activity bus, staying late, doing my sport after high school, then getting dropped off at the gym, at Lifestyles Gym there in St. Clair Beach. And then hitting the tanning bed bare ass at about 9 o'clock at night. And then coming home to my plate on the table. And that was it. Like, that was my life.
It's called living the dream right there.
Some people say that's LTD, man. Somebody's got to do it. But yeah, I mean, I thought that I was such a gifted, humbled, incredibly lucky. And you know, when they say luck is just basically when opportunity meets preparation. But I felt like I prepared properly in order to put myself in that position to go ahead and be a team leader, leading by example, keeping my mouth shut. That's one of the things you learn. You know, you want to be seen and not heard, right? Like, you want to be a really good athlete, a really good player. Sometimes it's better, especially in the early years, you better be seen and not be heard. So that was my motto early on. And apparently I chased around a lot of dudes in a locker room. Like, granted, you know, the white dudes, we were few and far between to be the Canadian at that matters. But I got in quick, bro. I got in really quick with these guys. The first thing I did, you're not allowed to sit on the couch at the U. You're a rookie. You're not allowed to sit on the couch. First thing I did, I sat my ass on the couch. Edgerrin James walks in and he goes, "Hey, Bird, Canada, you got to get up, man." And I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna watch my BET right now. I'm watching BET." Which was on the television 24/7 in that locker room. So I said, "No, I'm going to go ahead and get this done real quick." So I took my ass whooping. In comes Clint Hurt. You know Clint Hurt from
I know
Seattle
Clint Hurt well. He was a coach in Seattle.
He's another screw loose kind of guy. Like, you know,
yeah,
he's
love
he's
Clint
the defensive
Hurt.
line
Love
coach
Clint
for
Hurt.
the Eagles now. Yeah, he's a little bit of a nut job. But they all came in and whooped my ass, tackled me over the couch. I took my licking. And then that was it, bro. And I was like, all right, now I'm that dude. Now I'm the guy.
I love that, man. Okay. We're gonna keep pushing here. We mentioned a million guys there. We haven't even mentioned. Again, it's the most iconic roster in my opinion of all time. Yeah. I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit here, and I'm gonna do it a bit later here, Brett. But this one, I go back to my Legion of Boom days in Seattle, and it's like
toughest place to play in the NFL. anybody
by
out there
far.
wanting to know. Like
Yeah,
the sound, the engineering, the fan base, like one of the loudest, toughest places I've ever had to play.
facts. I got a question for you about your Miami team. Like for me, is there one guy that you played with at Miami that just stuck out and wowed you more than anybody else? Like for me, it was probably Earl Thomas, you know, and it's a very tough for me. And all of them were unbelievable. All these guys, I think, are Hall of Famers in that secondary. But Earl would do things in practice. Now he didn't speak much. Like I don't have like a relationship with Earl Thomas, but you'd turn the film and be like, how did Earl do this, dude? Like
Yeah.
it's just out of this world.
Yeah, like these guys are superheroes, man. I'd say Ed Reed. Ed Reed, you know,
Ed
when you got
Reed.
Peyton Manning and Tom Brady talking about like the most elite player and the most deceptive player that they've ever played against, and like mind you, you know, he's hanging out in my living room. We're having a great time, going to bars together, and that was like the other thing about our school, man. Like we all hung and kicked it and loved it together. It was that was probably one of the best things and the most important things that we ended up handling with each other. But yeah, in terms of athletic ability and just psycho freaks. Dan Morgan, one of them. Yeah, Ed Reed. Sean Taylor was a little bit younger than me, but he's another freak of nature. Defensive wise, this one linebacker we had, Nate Webster. Nate Webster brought me to a place where one of America's Most Wanted was sitting right there in the living room with us. Like this dude grew up, lived it. He's from the hood. He went to Northwestern High School. Obviously, he got in a little bit of legal trouble while he was in the league too, so he did some time. But Nate the Great, number 52, Nate Webster, he's like a little mini Ray Lewis. And I've never seen a dude pop up off the ground after getting cut, ripping apart somebody, in route coverage, choking his friends out. Like him and Edgerrin James used to choke their friends out on the tennis court while we were working out and running laps. But like, I'm like, the thing was, he's like, I'll put you to sleep. Keep your mouth shut or I'll put you to sleep.
Yeah, okay. I mentioned earlier about the rewards, or the awards, excuse me. Brett, like, again, I go to my like personal story here. You're gonna think this is pathetic, but I think it was my redshirt sophomore year, and I was on like the mid-season John Mackey award list, and I thought
Nice.
that was the coolest thing ever. I'm like, dude, again, I think I was 20, 21 years old. I'm from LaSalle. I'm like, I'm on the top 14 tight ends in the nation, baby. Like,
Right.
this is sick.
Right.
Okay, can you tell me what it is like to win? I know you won the Parker, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but the Rimmington is the award of the two of them, or maybe I'm wrong if you wanted the other one more. What was it like to win the Rimmington Award as the best center in college?
It was freaking nuts, man. It's literally like the Heisman Trophy for centers, right? And
Yes.
they have their own ceremony in Lincoln, Nebraska, where the whole Nebraska football team shows up, and it's a black tie event, red carpet. The my trophy is like 70 pounds of solid bronze. You get rings, you get quartered around, you get to go see everything that is or what isn't Lincoln, Nebraska. You get to see the Cornhusker facility and all that stuff, but yeah, to be even like considered for some kind of national prominence award like that, or it was really cool. Granted, you know, individual awards are usually accompanied by group success. So I think the fact that our team was who they were and what they were is probably one of the main reasons why I did win that best center in the country. The Outland Trophy, that was another ceremony that was pretty nuts. I came in second for the Outland to I believe to a defensive lineman out of like I don't know, freaking somewhere else in the Midwest. But yeah, that was another ceremony that was nuts. It basically came down to like me and Kirk Herbstreit and Fowler having a beer, talking about how awkward my quarterback Ken Dorsey was. That's what the ceremony ended up coming down to. But yeah, they're like the All American stuff, the Rimmington Award stuff, the Outland Trophy stuff. Probably doesn't even compare to the actual gratification of winning a national not national, but winning a natty, basically an NC2A championship with the guys that are on that list. Like literally, they still ride the coattails. And unfortunately, after last night's loss to Indiana, the University of Miami and the people of Miami still ride the coattails of that 2001 team. Hang their hat on it, sell it, whatever it is. It's still a very very recent memory, even though it was like almost a quarter century ago. But people still absolutely revere it.
So that brings me to my next question for you here, Brett, and I would hear this again. In my era, it was, and I'm not putting Alabama up with you guys, but in my era, Alabama was the big school.
Yeah.
The rumor we would talk about in our locker room is going to the NFL a downgrade for the Alabama guys. So I'm asking you, you play in 01, you guys win the Natty, most iconic team of all time. 02, you guys are undefeated in the regular season. Obviously, there's the injury in the Natty, kind of, I think, probably jammed you. You guys are the second best team that year in college, probably best on paper.
Yep.
You're now in the NFL. Is your rookie year a downgrade? Not as far as talent and players go. I guess you could say talent and players too, but as far as experience, was your experience in the NFL a downgrade in your experience in Miami?
Oh my God, hell yeah. Dude, like, if you want to talk about
Dude,
LA
I'm
style
joking.
celebrity status, like growing up and living on South Beach while you're the #1 show in town, like this is before the LeBrons and the Heats. This is like, well, the Dolphins sucked. Like, I'll put it this way. We would roll 40 deep into a club and Dante Culpepper is sitting there with two of his buddies trying to get into the same club and they're not letting him in, and he's the quarterback for the Dolphins. So
that
like,
is insane for me to hear.
Dude, like
that is insane for me to hear.
It was it's tough to go to college down here, or it was anyway. Yeah, but for the last 20 years, not so bad. But during my time, it was a very, very tough time to basically focus, play football, be successful, be a good student, and make it out alive. Basically,
yeah. Like, I would imagine you guys lost a lot of guys. I say you lose them to the game, dude. Like, does Miami kind of lose a lot of players of the game?
Yeah, I think so. I think it gets a little bit bigger than them down here. A lot of guys, especially coming from different places. You figure that a guy like me probably should have tripped and fell a couple times. Thank God I kept my my nose clean, no pun intended. Yeah, I stayed away from a lot of the bad stuff. Hung out with some of the good people. Surrounded me with some good people. But yeah, the downgrade of the NFL. How can I put this to let everybody understand? When you're winning, everything is good. The women look better. The steak is cooked better. You smell better. Your days are better. The sun is shining. When you're losing, which you do quite often in the NFL, like I'll never forget losing my first game in the NFL on the plane, and it was a party. Like, guys are in the back singing and dancing because you know why? Checks don't change, baby. That deposit is still going into your account every 2 weeks. A lot of guys didn't have much pride. They didn't have much pride about the team that they're playing for. The illustrious allure of loving the game and what you're playing it for, that faded quick as hell. Once you realize that it's a business, and a lot of it is business, that love for the game kind of fades. So I hate to break hearts out there of people that think that sometimes players are a little bit lazy. It's just, to be honest with you, half of them don't care half the time. Because that's really the competitive juice and the fun of the game has been beaten out of you, and it's literally become a job, and it's putting food on your table, and it's feeding your family, and it's literally a job now. It's no longer a game, and that's the unfortunate part about professional sports is it's professional. It really does rob you of some of the love that you've ever created or had in the past for that type of game. So yeah, losing the games in the pros. And always winning games in college, it was a tough pill to swallow. Being able to go ahead and lose just about half of the games you're playing in the NFL.
Yeah, I can imagine. That was one thing I thought about. I'm like, that's got to be fascinating, going from being so dominant, being the king of the city. Again, it's the documentaries made on the team are just. Probably don't do it justice.
There's gonna be another one coming out too. You saw the one about me, right? Putting my meat in a hot dog bun and asking the head coach if he wanted a bite. You saw that, right?
I didn't see this.
Oh
dude.
yeah, that didn't go over
I'm sorry.
too
What
well.
happened?
During the documentary, I don't know if it's on there or not, but I actually ran up to Coach Coker, our head coach at the time, and I ended up putting my deal in a hot dog bun and asked him if he wanted a bite, and he said if I wanted finger food, Brett, I would ask my secretary to order some in. So he was pretty quick-witted on it. It was a good little story. But yeah, we had some great times, man. College again, it was the best time of my life. Unfortunately, I feel like I probably peaked at 21 years old, slowly fading as time was going on. But the transition into the NFL was not necessarily from a talent standpoint in terms of everybody you're going against is awesome. Like they're the one or two top players of college football on every single team, right? That's who you're going to be finding yourself working with every day. in terms of skills, there was nobody better than our skill position guys at Miami. Like linebacker wise, wide receiver wise, running back wise, you name it. Like Andre Johnson, Santana Moss, Reggie Wayne, Kellen Winslow, Greg Olson, Jeremy Shockey, Bubba Franks, Edgerrin James, Clinton Portis, McGahee, Frank Gore. God, like I could just keep going on. Those are backups after backups after backups. Antrell Roll, Sean Taylor, Ed Reed. God, our
It's insane.
DBs. No, dude,
Sean Taylor
bonkers.
now.
Yeah.
And then I want to ask you about your thoughts on the current situation in NCAA, but I do want to ask, you got into a bit of a fight, I would say, with Sean Taylor after an NFL game. Can you describe what happened there? Can you give us the rundown of what happened there? Well, was that bad blood from college?
No, not at all. We barely spoken. Like Sean, people didn't know this, but Sean was extremely quiet, man. Sean never said 2 words. And he's that guy, like when they talk about Brian Dawkins in documentaries about like that animal, that werewolf that comes out when he puts a helmet on and he becomes a different human being. That was Sean. Sean was quiet in the street, and on the football field, he definitely wasn't. And me and him kept getting into it, and I kept cutting out London Fletcher. You know, I kept like, wrapping around the nose guard and trying to blow out London Fletcher, kicking his knees out from underneath him, trying to chop him out. And Sean got tired of it. And he came in and speared me right in the side of the head in a pile. After the play was over with, got a flag. And then I got up and I looked and I was like, oh no. I was like, oh, Sean, that was you. And then he started like dropping F-bombs. He was like, F you Romberg, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, that's it. I'm aborting my assignment. I'm going right at you. So it was an overtime play going against Washington. Steven Jackson ripped up right up the middle, winning touchdown. I ran over Sean. We ended up getting into it, started fighting immediately, fist fighting. And then I guess the announcers were like, oh my God, this is the brotherhood. These guys are college teammates, So yeah, it was pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
Did you talk after? Or a week later?
Yeah, well, he didn't live too far down the road from me. Unfortunately, obviously, everybody knows the story about, the intrusion and him getting killed as the guy's running out the door, basically hitting him in the femoral artery, bleeding out. And that's how he ended up passing away. Unfortunately, he was home because his hip was hurting. They were playing against Tampa, and he was like, you know what? I'm just going to go home and visit my kid and my girl. And nobody knew that he was going to be there. And ironically enough, these guys that robbed his house came over from the west coast of Florida, Naples area, were surprised when they saw Sean was there and Sean standing in the hallway, with a machete. And the guy started running out the door and pulled the trigger. And unfortunately, one caught him in the artery and he basically bled out. So just a trail of stupid events, horrible situation. That's how like one of the greatest safeties in the NFL got taken away from a lot of people a lot earlier than expected.
Brutal.
Yeah, Debbie Downer's story. Sorry about that.
Debbie Downer's right, man. I just want to kind of wrap this up, Brett, with obviously Miami, great performance last night, pretty close to getting it done.
Yeah.
How excited do you think that community is, the fact that, and I'm not trying to be rude, I don't think that team is anywhere near the talent level you guys were, but there's been some dark days in Miami. To be in the national championship, is the buzz in Miami pretty good right now?
Yeah, and I think you know what? If it would have been another team, if it would have been somebody outside of Indiana, and the reason why I say that it's a little bit of a different atmosphere there is because their quarterback is a local kid. Mendoza, yes. Heisman Trophy winning kid. He's from here. He's from Christopher Columbus High School, local high school down here in Miami. And I feel like the Miami community won either way. Granted, the Hurricane fans, we lost. Unfortunately, we're not able to hang our hat on another national championship, a 6th national championship. But I feel like the South Florida community in general, the football community, walked away being able to lick their wounds a little bit easier last night because of Mendoza and how an amazing kid he is and his family. And I don't know if people know this, but the Mendozas have like a 1,500 family reunion that they do every 4 or 5 years. And they rent out the Biltmore Hotel. They color code their T-shirts. So like they're a staple here in South Florida. So
Gotcha.
When they say that the Mendoza kid, the Heisman Trophy winning Cuban, mind you, Latin American community's going nuts down here because of him. Like people have converted from Miami Hurricane fans over to Indiana Hoosier fans because of this young man. So it was a tough night. I felt a couple key plays like in every football game. There's going to be about 4 or 5 plays.
The punt block jammed you.
Yeah, punt block sucked. And then his electrifying run at the end, catapulting himself, diving across the goal line. Once that happened, I was like, all right, boys, pack it up. We're done tonight. That was it. Like once Superman entered the building, that moment in time, I was like, this is going to be a tough one to overcome. And then obviously that interception on the last drive coming down, that obviously sealed the fate. But South Florida, Miami Hurricane has been waiting for almost 25 years. Next year is going to be my 25-year reunion of that 2001 team. We've been having mediocre football down here when there's a definite bar that has been set for good football. Miami Hurricane football is not what we've been normally witnessing here in the last, 15, 20 years. So there's been a lot more down than there's been good or up to say. And I feel like we got a snippet of what is to come. I think Mario Cristobal laid an amazing foundation at Miami, basically taking it down and bringing it back up again. Dedicated former Miami Hurricane player, now coach, local Christopher Columbus High School graduate as well. So you got that tie in the community. He's a Nick Saban disciple. He's from that Alabama tree.
Yep.
Same militant attitude, jerk, mean, relentless, recruiting the hell out of the schools all over the country. Drinks cafecito like crazy, so he doesn't sleep. I feel like we're starting to set the bar again for what Miami Hurricane football. Obviously, in a new age of football, we all know it's changed, but the new age of Miami Hurricane football, I feel like they're here, they've arrived, and they're going to keep building on what they just put out there last year.
Okay, Brett. One thing we do, we're going to wrap it up right now. So we do a top 5 every week. This top 5 gets wild. A couple of weeks ago, we had Tom Cruise movies, top 5 Tom Cruise movies.
Nice.
It changes, man. It's very, very fluid. It's a personal list. We're not holding a gun to your hand, but I am going to put it on I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Top 5, presented by Yoder Smokers. Top 5 Miami Hurricane football players of all time. This is your personal list.
Yeah.
Does not matter what the public thinks.
Yep.
If you had to rank them, and you could say, like, based on performance, based on locker room vibes, based on championships, whatever you want to take this, give me your top 5 Miami Hurricane college football players of all time.
And mind you, people got to understand that it's not NFL. It's what they did at the University of Miami, right? So I'm on the NFL, I'm on the Hurricane Hall of Fame board. So I'm like, what goes into the Hall of Fame at Miami, I know very, very well. So this is going to be in my wheelhouse.
Nothing to do with NFL performance.
Correct. One man that apparently is above all and is an absolute beast, Jerome Brown.
Jerome Brown, that's number 1.
Yeah, Jerome Brown might be. Ted Hendricks, the Mad Stork. And again, men weren't 6'7", 6'8", 100 years ago. Like, we all seen the little beds. We all seen the little beds. Men weren't that big back in the day.
The little beds. So
the little beds.
That's
We've all seen
number 2.
the historic museum beds, right? Like, they're all little. Yep. They're little.
No question.
So the fact that there was a defensive end for the Oakland Raiders that was 6'7", called the Mad Stork, Ted Hendricks, he's a monster. I'm going to go personal on the center side of things. Otto, Jim Otto, one of the most decorated centers in history in the NFL and in college. I'm going to have to go Michael Irvin, maybe, and Ray. I'm going to have to go with Ray, man.
Ray.
Like, yeah, I think I might have diverted to what they've done in the NFL, but to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think you can say Miami Hurricanes without Michael Irvin. I don't think you could say or throw up the U without Ray Lewis. And then I'm obviously going to pay some homage and some tribute to some of the OGs that basically put the University of Miami on the map. And then coaching wise, Jimmy Johnson, Erickson, Butch Davis, those guys are just all stellar too as well. And unfortunately, I never mentioned anybody that I ever played with, which is weird. So it kind of gives you a good idea of what I feel or how I feel about how our early conversation was going about that level of athleticism, that level of player that you kind of see on common ground, and you don't believe that like they're any better than you or any worse than you. They're like your equal. So maybe the next generation will say Ed Reed, Jeremy Shockey, Cam Ward. You know what I mean? There might be those guys, but I'm gonna have to go with my old school guys, the guys that I used to hear ghost stories about when I first showed up at Miami.
Brett, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate it. This has been an electric pod.
Appreciate it, man.
Again, the 01, 02 Miami teams are, as you know, even up here in Canada, stuff of legend. So thanks for sharing some of those stories today.
Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it. Good seeing you.
Just recapping that, the thing that sticks out to me about that whole conversation was just how different you had to be, and I mean this in the best way, to be a member or a guy in that 2001 Miami Hurricanes team. Still, in my opinion, the greatest college football team ever. The stories are nuts. And with that, we wrap up episode 14 of Film Never Lies.